Okay, we're live here, Paul.
Welcome to the show on this evening and this Wednesday night. It's Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy here on 98.9 Northwest FM. Great having your company. It's been a major week, and let me tell you, there's lots of rain going on out there, but it doesn't matter because we've got a fantastic show set up for you this evening. It's Paul Curry here. We've got Mark Watt, and we've got Tully Smith in the stream yard, which I'll introduce very shortly. Hey, tonight's show, a discussion between three blokes in a podcast form, radio show, talking everything community, sports, current and controversial news, and of course tech, but we're sort of minus the tech element this evening, but I might see if I can whiz up some sort of tech food. What do you think, Marcus? How are you, Mark?
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Actually, we're solving the world's problems tonight, so we've got a full show, I'd say. So, it's going to take a while to solve all the problems tonight, but we've got an amazing guest tonight with us who's going to help us steer the way through, I think, Paul. Yes. And given what's on the news tonight, we're going to need a little bit of that steering.
Yeah, exactly right. Absolutely, exactly. Well, let's introduce, without any further ado, Tully Smith. Welcome to the show. Mentor, great bloke, counsellor, Tully Strategic. What can I say, mate? You are the man. How are you, Tully? Welcome to Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy.
I'm well, Paul, Mark. Sorry, the Tech Guy can't be with us. I will just correct you on one thing: future counsellor, not yet elected, but on route.
Future.
And Tully, I must admit, mate, you are looking amazing tonight. I love the tie. We'll call it a bomber tie just for tonight. You're looking really good, mate. You look like you actually could join the board of the Essendon Football Club tonight. And let me tell you, they need some help down there in Bomberland.
Mate, I was about to say, I don't want to be too controversial, but I tell you what, Mark, you and I should get on the bomber board. I reckon no matter what, we do a better job than the current one.
Oh, here we go. Hang on a second. This is going to take the whole show up. Don't you go there, Tully. Don't you do that.
Well, what do we find out?
Sorry, mate. It could lead into Mark's rant because, of course, in one of our segments, Tully, on tonight's show is about Mark having a little bit of a rant. So we're just going to be careful of that one there. Go ahead.
I think we'll get into that too, mate. But let's just find out who Tully Smith is. A lot of people want to know who you are, mate. What's your claim to fame to be on this famous show, of course, the Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy show. Who are you? Why have we got you on the show?
Mate, I think you've got me here because I'm a bomber.
Yes, true.
No, truth be told, I've known Mark for a number of years now. Mark and I first met when I was general manager at the American Chamber of Commerce. And how we met was because everything I've done in my life always has to have a little bit of a charitable bent to it. And we were looking for a charity partner at the American Chamber. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, where Mark moonlights as the CEO when he's not a radio star, but obviously founded in America in the very early 1900s, one of the biggest charities in North America. And they have an Australian chapter. So we thought, what a great fit for the American Chamber of Commerce in Australia. So Mark and I started doing some work together to promote the amazing work that Big Brothers, Big Sisters does. Our main goal was to reach out to corporate Australia to find some corporate money for the charity, but a friendship ensued. So Mark and I met. We got along well. He twisted my arm, and I'm now a big brother to a remarkable young man named Eddie, and we have a really great time together. But doing work with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, genuinely, I often talk about how life-changing it is, but it's actually been life-changing for me. I sometimes feel a little bit guilty than say that, as a mentor, you almost get more out of it than I think sometimes you think the mentees do. But it's a remarkable program, remarkable organisation. Mark's a remarkable man. That's how I got to know him. And he invited me on your show tonight. So pleased to be here.
Yeah, and Tully, you're like an ambassador mentor. We love you being out there, helping to create some, out there community awareness of the program, helping people understand what we're trying to do. Because as you know, over in the West, there's hundreds of kids that really desperately need a mentor. So, it's just fantastic. You're leading the way, personally by being a mentor, but you're also helping the organisation sort of in that ambassador type role. So really appreciate your involvement, mate.
No, thanks, Mark. And I mean, for me, after being able to work with you, the organisation really hit home. I grew up in a pretty underprivileged part of regional Victoria. My old man's a plasterer, tradie. Mum used to do odd jobs when she was raising us. She's now an in-home disability and aged care support worker. So I grew up in a pretty working class family. And, everything I am today was because I had absolutely amazing mentors in my life. I was fortunate enough that I found them in our local community. Of all places, one of Mum's odd jobs was she cleaned the local pub. And the local publican was this amazing woman by the name of Marg Card. And she was a local councillor, a local mayor. And when I was in about grade 4, the then Kennett government, I don't know how political your show is, but I'll say they were a very bad government, closed my and it was that instilled, I think, a life for me in community activism. And as much as I was a little kid, I was in grade 4, but I really learned the power of community and having a voice and having a say. Back then that community didn't have much of a go, and Kennett really didn't give the regions much of a chance. But that amazing publican sort of said to me one day, well, look, Tully, there's two kinds of people. I mean, you can sit at home and you can whinge about it, or you can roll up your sleeves and you can do something. From that age, I've been involved in community life. But it was by having good, strong mentors in my life is why I am who I am today. And unfortunately, for so many people, they don't have that opportunity. And I live in Melbourne's West. I live in Point Cook, and you see it every day. And the work that Mark does really resonated with me. So not only did I support the organisation, I got involved. Like I said, I'm a big brother, and it's a really remarkable organisation.
Now, Paul, you're interested in who's sitting behind Tully. Like, there's a lot of photos there. Can you just run us through some of the photos? Because Paul's very interested in your photo wall. I think he's a bit jealous he hasn't got them on his photo wall. So who's behind you, mate? Who's the inspiration behind you as we sort of get the foundation of the show, if you like?
Well, mate, I'm coming to you live from my home. So this is my home office. So it's not a Microsoft Teams generic background. Look, behind me a sum of a couple of either the election campaigns I've been involved in. I'm going to get the direction wrong, but yes, to my far end down here is Kevin Rudd, and that was the Kevin 07 election. And I think for those of us who were around or involved in politics in 07, it was a pretty remarkable election campaign. It was a real nation-building, nation-changing moment. Further across is Kim Beazley. I'd say probably the greatest Prime Minister the country never had. He was federal leader of the Labor Party when I joined. And I've been a member of the Labor Party since I was 14 years old. And Kim was the leader of the party then. And I got to meet him on a couple of occasions in Ballarat, and where I grew up. And he's just a remarkable man. That one's actually signed to me from Kim. Above him, Gough Whitlam, the man who stood up and fought for a right to education for every Australian, no matter what your background. And one of the values that's been instilled with me is the right to a fair go for all. And my parents will tell you one of the hardest days of their lives is when I graduated my VCE with the marks to get into university. But they had to say, look, mate, you can't go. We can't afford to send you. It's great there's HECS for school fees, but we can't afford your, accommodation in Melbourne. We can't afford you to send you to college or live on campus. I was fine with that. I thought, I'll best go work and work for a year or two, save some money and go to uni. I never actually did that. I went to uni as an adult. I probably enjoyed working life, but Gough Whitlam was someone that genuinely defended the right to an education for all, and for someone who didn't have that opportunity, it's something that I absolutely believe in and will defend. Likewise, that's Gough Whitlam's famous "It's Time" poster. That's actually signed from Gough to me. I met Gough when I was 16. Probably didn't really appreciate the gravitas at the time, but on the other side is obviously Bob Hawke and Paul Keating. just probably some great inspirational leaders from my time. Certainly prime ministers that genuinely changed Australia. Bill Clinton off to the side there, and directly behind me is JFK. Obviously predates me a little bit, but one of my absolute idols. A genuinely generational transformative president of the United States. So
they're all fantastic, mate. Yeah. Now, Paul, just tell us, if you had to select one of those for your wall at home, which one would you pick, Paul?
Well, I'd say I reckon Bobby Hawke. Right?
Bobby Hawke.
I mean, Gough Whitlam, Bob Hawke for sure. Absolutely. All were amazing leaders. But I'm concerned, Mark, because this is what's behind your wall. Just have a look at this for a minute. Well, hey, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but if I can say, I met Lindsay Fox and the head of the union many years ago, and they used to come into a shop I had in the city, and I've got a BRW extract, and they've both signed it on, for me. But in that back of the wall there, I'd have to say Bob Hawke. I think he was pretty amazing.
Okay. Well, Tina Schrader likes your wall there, Tully. She's made a comment there. So amazing wall and memories. Yeah, great memories. It's great that some of them have been signed to you, and looks like Paul's going to pinch the Bob Hawke one off you, mate.
Thanks, Tina, for the comment. And Paul, you're welcome to it, but it does say Dear Tully. So, you're welcome. But
well, hang on. Hang on. So, Mark, who would you take off the wall? So, if Tully was going to give you...
interesting one. I do like. I mean, I like Tully's little description of each one. And Gough Whitlam, I reckon he's quite a. He didn't be the Prime Minister for that long, was he, Tully? But, gee, he made a big impact for the time he was there. If you count days and impact, he'd probably have the most impact, wouldn't he?
I think it's interesting, isn't it, that, JFK and Gough Whitlam, obviously for different reasons, but very short-term leaderships in the grand scheme of things, but genuinely transformative leaders. I think, the message I think in there is sometimes you don't need to be in it for a long time, but, I think good people doing good things. And, I just think, I'm reminded of, just the absolute impact of good government versus bad government. And, I think both Whitlam and Kennedy ran very good governments and very good cabinet governments, inclusive governments that fought for a fair go for all, and they're remembered for that.
Yeah.
Well, I think Tully's going to see if he can get his photo up on the 98.9 Northwest FM wall, but he might be over in the west because, Tully, you're actually going to go for a place on the council over there at Point Cook, mate. So tell us a bit about that.
I am, mate. Sorry. Yeah. I've look, as I said, I grew up in Moorabool Shire Council, so just over the border from Wyndham. And when my fiance and I were looking for a place to make a home and start a family and do our journey, we found Point Cook, and we just absolutely loved the community here. I've been here now for closer to 10 years than 5, and we just absolutely fell in love with it. Really amazing community spirit. But for too long, I think Point Cook has been the unforgotten part of Wyndham City Council. We are, as outlined in recent reports from the both state and federal government, who've set some pretty high immigration and population growth targets, which I have no problem with. But we just don't have the infrastructure to keep up with the population demand. You can't simply just keep putting houses out in suburban Melbourne and not keeping up with the infrastructure and services needed to support that growth. For too long, I've just seen a council that hasn't managed that well. That quite frankly, I feel has done a pretty poor job in planning decisions, and they've done not a great job in lobbying government and standing up for our community, saying, look, if you want us to bear the brunt of population growth, we need the services, but more importantly, we need the infrastructure to keep up. No one's been saying that. So I've decided to roll up my sleeves, put up my hand and say, well, I'll put my name forward for council, and that's very much part of my agenda.
Wow, amazing.
There you go, Paul. What do you reckon, mate? Another one actually trying to make a difference out there in the community. And what do you think, Paul? Well, I mean, is this something that, inspires you or motivates you? Because, you're a local man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm hearing Tully, and I think it's really important. He's obviously got a couple of key agendas there. But you're right, though. There's so much growth in the west. I'm northwest, travel the west quite a bit, and you see there's no infrastructure. You see the northern side's getting a little bit of work at the moment. But I mean, I'm hearing you, and why aren't the councils or the cities looking at the things that are so important? And one of those things is so important. So, why is Point Cook left alone? Why, and it's just grown so profound.
That's right. And make no mistake about it. I'm very aware of what local government's responsibility is, and roads, rates, and fundamentals of local council. But for anyone to think that your local council doesn't have a voice and an opinion, and can't stand up and say to a state and federal government, look, we're missing out here. It's very clear. I mean, the largest school in Victoria is in Point Cook. The biggest wait lists are in Point Cook. Right? Our population is not keeping. We have, the population, the birth rate here. We have a primary school grade being born every week here in Point Cook, and we just don't have the infrastructure of the future, and we've got a council not talking about it. And I think it's time that local government is the closest level of government to the people, and we need a voice.
So, Tully, as you're walking down the road, you're going to local milk bar, or you're going to local place, what's been the reaction of the man in the street to Tully Smith putting up his banners and saying, hey, vote for me?
Cost of living, Mark. What you hear from absolutely everybody is the price of cost of living. I know we're coming to that, so I didn't want to preempt you gents raising that with me. But that is the single most significant issue that everybody's talking about. And I'm quite frankly sick and tired of local government representatives passing that off to either their state or more than likely their federal government colleagues. We are in the middle of a cost of living crisis, and it is imperative that all levels of government, local, state and federal, work together to address this issue. So to that endeavour, I've launched a fully funded, fully costed cost of living plan that I will introduce if I'm elected to Wyndham City Council in a month's time.
Okay, now you might as well go, because Paul's very interested in this to roll out in his area. We all want it. We don't just want it for the people in Point Cook, but let's start with people at Point Cook. How are you actually going to help me reduce my cost of living because I'm struggling? And voting for Tully Smith, what's that going to do for me? I'm living in Point Cook. How are you going to help me, mate?
Yeah, look, Mark, I'd love to say that my plan could be rolled out statewide, but you know me, I'm a pretty straight shooter. And the fact of the matter is that the way that I've funded it or costed it out, it will not work in every area. And let me tell you why. Point Cook being one of the fastest growing areas in the entire nation, the way that Wyndham Council has been collecting developer contributions and banking them is how I'm going to fund this plan. So basically, Wyndham City Council has just over 35 million, $36.4 odd million that has been collected in developer contributions from developments in Point Cook, and that money must be spent in Point Cook. Now, Wyndham Council has done, quite frankly, a pretty poor job of managing that money. They've had it sitting in council coffers, not being managed at all. So what my plan suggests is I will create a Point Cook Future Fund. I'll invest every single cent of that, and for the next 4 years, I'll invest with the investment that money makes, every cent of profit that investment makes will be returned for a cash rate relief. So the capital will remain. The capital will be saved for the future of Point Cook to invest in the infrastructure and services that we may need. But for the next 4 years, the return on that investment will go directly back to residents in the form of a cash rebate for rates. So it will provide cash rebates to every household for your rate relief.
Yeah.
Well, mate, that's amazing for the people that live in Point Cook, mate. You're going to have a few people upset that live on the street next door to Point Cook, though, aren't you?
Mate, I'll suggest that in Wyndham's, maybe across in Hobson's Bay, I feel for them, but I can tell you that there isn't a suburb in Wyndham that isn't growing quickly, and I'd imagine this is a plan that we could roll out across Wyndham. However, what I will say is I've costed this and developed this plan for Point Cook, which is my community, the community that I'm seeking to represent, but I will be advocating strongly this gets rolled out as a Wyndham.
Now, Tully, you know what they say, mate? If it sounds too good to be true, it's not true. I mean, can you actually do this? Can Tully Smith actually give me a rebate if I live in Point Cook?
Absolutely. So at the first opportunity that I get, I will be moving this motion to the council that this money, which remember has been collected to be spent in Point Cook. This is not money that was collected to spend across Wyndham. It was not money that was collected across the state of Victoria. The money is in council's bank account right now. The money's sitting there. Now, it's sitting there doing nothing. It's in an inactive bank account. I'm going to take that money. We're going to invest it into a future fund. And I've calculated this, by the way, on a 4% return on that money, which, if you invested it in a long-term option at a bank, you'll get that return. I think we could do much better than that. I happen to be on the board of the Wyndham Health Foundation, and we have a significant amount of money invested. And what we do is we invest that, and the profits get returned into local public health services. We're getting about 11 to 12% on our money, so I can't see any reason why we'd only get 4% on that. But I've been conservative on the estimate. And on that, we can return cash relief of in excess of $300 per year to every house.
Paul, why you're
eligible.
That's crazy.
Paul, is this why you're thinking about moving to Point Cook?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, do you need a sidekick there, Tully?
Paul, do we? I tell you what, if you have a look at Wyndham City Council, do we need good people? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, question, why is the money sitting in the bank for so long? Like, I mean, is it, they're waiting for a rainy day, or?
No, I honestly don't know. I would, I've asked that question. No one's been able to answer it. But the money's been sitting there unallocated and unspent. I'd hesitate to say it, but happy to put my hypothesis forward. I may be wrong on this. I would say it's gross mismanagement.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
And what's been the reaction, mate, of the current councillors, the mayor, other people around you to your idea, mate? What's been the reaction?
Yeah, it's interesting. I counted this before I chose to run for council, by the way. I put this up as a strategy at the beginning of this year before council elections were even a thing. Wyndham has got a pretty strong deputy mayor. He jumped behind it straight away. Said, mate, this concept you've put is pretty fundamentally life shifting. He came out, he met with me on it, and we did some local press on this together. He called for it, so it's got the full backing of Wyndham's deputy mayor. I'm pretty disappointed that our local councillors haven't picked up on it.
Haven't picked it up, yeah. But you're moving around, you're campaigning, you're talking to the local constituents. What's the word on the street? Like, what are they saying? I mean, I know tonight's about the cost of living, but what are people saying to you directly?
I will say that cost of living is just the number one issue.
That's number one, is it? Okay.
People talk to me about, 90% of the time it is genuinely cost of living issues. I will say, though, the other hand of that is, there's pretty low awareness of local government elections happening across Victoria. I don't know if you're seeing that, Paul, in your community or Mark, but as I'm out chatting, mate, is the Prime Minister changing? It's like, no, local council guys, and they're like, another election. So there is a low level of awareness that elections are taking place. I mean, that's not that's completely understandable. But when I talk again, it's 80-90% is always cost of living. That's followed up by then really good local issues. So population growth and infrastructure is huge. Out here in the west, it's traffic congestion and local roads. Yeah. We've got there is a highway. There's a lot of issues with that, crossing the West Gate into the city, things like that. But, that congestion, to be fair to the state government, that is because there is significant works going to do that. Yeah, so true. I think there's a really good awareness of the community that's going to get a whole lot better. So people say it's awful at the minute, but we know why. We know it's getting better. But the local roads that connect houses to the freeway are the problem. So if I jumped in my car tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. to get into the city by 9 for work, the longest part of my drive is the 5 to 6 kilometres it takes me to get from my home to the freeway. The 15 kilometres from the freeway into the city is the fastest part. So just getting off our local neighbourhood roads and onto the freeway is a problem. And that's exactly what I was talking about. Our infrastructure isn't keeping up. It's the same road before any residential development was done in Point Cook. That road existed to connect the highway to the airbase. And as you may or may not know, Point Cook is the home of the RAAF. The Air Force Australian was founded Point Cook. The airbase is the first airbase and the longest continual airbase in the world. So not just in Australia, in the world. That's where the RAAF was founded. That road existed to connect the RAF base to the highway, and it's the same road. So we've now got an entire community built around that, without lane duplication. It's a single lane road for most of the way. There's some works around it. And that's just one example. We just don't have the local infrastructure to keep up. The fact that we live in suburbs of 30 to 40,000 people, there's not a single railway station here. The nearest railway station is 7 kilometres away. I mean, it's that is what people then will talk about. Once we get past cost of living, it's local infrastructure.
And what about Tully? Obviously, I run Big Brothers Big Sisters, a mentoring program helping young people. You're a mentor with Big Brothers Big Sisters. What about all the poor kids that live in the West, mate? What are you going to do about them? They've got no role models. You're really struggling out there. What's Tully Smith going to do for young people?
Yeah, and I'm really proud to be a big brother with your organisation, Mark, Big Brothers Big Sisters. It's been a genuinely life-changing experience for me to be a big brother. And I honestly didn't, when I went into the program, I thought I was in it to help a young person, which I hope I'm doing, but it's actually been life-changing for me.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that, that we have some crime issues. We have community safety issues. And it is through programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters that keeps people out of the youth justice system. And that is why we need to support charities and organisations and programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters. I want to support programs and help organisations that stop kids committing crimes, that stop kids having a run-in with the law, that stop kids entering the youth justice system. And Council has a huge role to play in that. I mean, Council, fund these kind of programs and organisations. They don't fund Big Brothers Big Sisters. And, I think it's community programs like that we need to do. There's other candidates running this election talking about, community security patrols and things like that. I mean, all the research shows that doesn't work. All the research shows that's not a solution to the problem. We know what fixes the problem. The stats are proven. We have this paperwork, and Council has a role to play in this. State government fund our police force. State government fund law enforcement. And sure, if I'm elected local council, I'll have some issues there. We don't have a police station. There's one coming, but we don't have a police station in Point Cook, and we need more cops on the beat. And I'll be a voice for our community in saying that. I've spent years sitting on community safety committees, organisations like that. I know the role of state government and what police play. But local government can have a huge impact. Pride of place, community programs. Getting our kids, proud of their local communities and involved
exactly.
Where I grew up, I joined the junior CFA when I was 13 years old. And we know, I'm a case in point of this, but all the stats show it. Kids that are involved in community and involved in sporting clubs and community groups and community organisations, become upstanding citizens for lo and behold. And Council has a massive role to play in that, and they're not addressing it now. And I guarantee you, Mark, because you know the work I've done, I won a Prime Minister of Australia's award for service to the community. I back community organisations, and that's what I plan to do if I'm elected local government next month.
Good on you, Tully. It's great to have Tully Smith on 98.9 Northwest FM for the Paul, Mark and the Tech Show. Paul, how's that, buddy? And it's good to have Tully here, isn't it?
Oh, it's sensational.
I know where the tech guy is. The new iPhone came out this morning, and I want to know about it.
Where is he? Where's the tech guy? Oh, well, he's just this evening. Oh, well, I won't be able to do that segment, but I could probably do something like, I don't know, let me have a look here. Let's have a look. Maybe the new grill. Go for the new grill.
Mate,
do you need a grill, Tully? You need a grill. I think it's sensational. Well, look, coming up shortly, we've got top 7 at 7. Tully, I'm going to ask you to help us out because I've put a few tips and tricks. And now I'm not a councillor. I'm not, running for Gov or anything like that. But I've put a few 7 points about saving tips and tricks to save money amid a cost of living crisis. So I want you to help me out there. We're also going to be jumping in Mark's rant because we want to hear what's going on because I know he's had a hectic couple of weeks. I know he wants to say something. But, mate, just before we do the top 7 at 7, what isn't healthcare and hospitals, isn't that, ambulance, isn't that such a hot topic out there in the market, like out there in the West, in the North and the South? Is that something that, why is it, why aren't they? Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
And I will say that from a local government perspective, obviously in-home care, that kind of services are absolutely local government. I actually think Wyndham do a really cracking job at the service delivery that they've got. I will say that Wyndham is fortunate because of the growth. Wyndham actually has, more money than a lot of local governments. But we're pretty lucky in Point Cook. We've got a pretty good local member of parliament out here at the state level and a federal level, actually, but who advocated really strongly. And for the first time, we're getting a community hospital built here in Point Cook, a public hospital. So we've got a new hospital opening up in the town centre. So we've had a new ambulance station just recently. We've got a new police station opening soon. So I will, credit where credit's due. The state government are doing a pretty good job in that regard. But I mean, look, you can always absolutely do better. We have significant issues out here in the West where there is there is one emergency room, and that emergency room is in Werribee. The Point Cook Hospital won't have a 24-hour emergency facility. So we do have significant issues with emergency facilities. Just recently, state and federal governments have promised to upgrade and refit the Werribee Mercy Hospital's 24-hour emergency facility. So I'm keen to see those details and get across that. But for the size of the population, absolutely not. I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty unrealistic for government to turn around and say, well, guys, you've got a new public hospital in Footscray. I mean, like I can get into the city probably quicker than I can get to Footscray most days. So, we need to be planning for these things. But again, the role of, I really want to be clear on this, what the role of council is in these things is to be making sure that we're setting aside land and the planning controls are in place. So when governments come along and can fund these hospitals, so we need strong councils that will be a voice for these issues. We need councils that will stand up and say, we need these services and we need this infrastructure. And we've got a plan in place to be able to house and build the infrastructure when it comes. Not just councillors addicted to property developer revenue and just turning every piece of vacant land into houses, because that is not how you build a livable community. You need the hospitals, you need the schools, you need the police stations, but you also need parks. You also need shops. You also need local cafes, restaurants. You need to create a livable city. And that's not what we're doing. The planning decisions out here have been so poor over the years that we need people who know how to tackle these challenges.
Well, mate, I tell you what, Tully Smith, it's great to hear. And, mate, isn't he a great politician? He's a great community man. He's a great leader, young fella. We've got to get behind him, Paul, these young fellas like him, because he's heading, and who knows, in the future, you might have your photo on the back wall there and helping out. And you're going to lead the way in Point Cook. The population of Point Cook has probably just gone up from tonight's conversation. I was just thinking of you speaking, Paul, social enterprise in Point Cook. Wouldn't it be a great spot for social enterprise down there in the Point Cook, you reckon? Yeah,
I think it would be. Yeah. Tully, can we have a chat?
Social engine action you're suggesting, Mark, And
like the little cafe, or Paul runs a lovely canteen sort of thing, and social enterprise, because social enterprise helps give young people jobs, Tully. You'd be a big supporter of social enterprise.
Mark, it's really interesting you say that. Many years ago, I was the head of corporate affairs at Parks Victoria. And one of the programs that I was a really strong advocate was for more commercialisation in parks. Now, when you say that, it sounds nasty, but what I mean by that is cafes, little restaurants, pop-up coffee carts, things like that being able to operate in the estate. One of the large areas that we have out here is the Point Cook Wetlands Reserve, and it has an amazing heritage homestead on it, which used to have a B&B and a restaurant cafe operating out of it. It still is sat empty for years. But that's just one example, I think, where we can activate government assets. And I'd love to see a social enterprise in there. But furthermore, I mean, council has a lot more land and fully accessible land, and I'd love to see that opened up more, and not just for fixed physical infrastructure, as important as that is, but for social enterprises to run coffee carts and pop-up activations, things like that, which the community creates pride of place, makes it a great place to live, but could exactly right put people into work that otherwise aren't.
There you go, Paul. I knew he was a social enterprise man. Now, Paul, we're going to move into the footy segment before we get to the 7 in 7. Do you reckon we should do that?
I think you should, mate. We just want to
know. We just got to pick the winners for the weekend game. I don't know if you've got the slide for this.
Before you do that, Mark, I'd just like to say that I'm out of this section. The Point Cook Sharks are out of the finals, and Essendon out of the finals. So my September's wide open, boy. So I think we should start talking cricket, shouldn't we?
Yeah, it's a good point, mate. But they've got the Hawks Port Adelaide this weekend. Who are you going to go for out of Port Adelaide and the Hawks, Tully?
I've got to go to the Victorian side, don't you? It's got to be the Hawks.
Hawks. Who
Hawks.
are you going for, Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to go Hawks as well. Yep.
All right. What about up there in Sydney, the Greater Western Sydney playing Brisbane? Where are you going that way, Tully?
Look, I've got a bit of an affinity to Greater Western Sydney because as a bomber, Sheeds went up there and did a bit of work with them. So, I'd like to see GWS get up.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm the same, but I think Brizzy will do it. I think Brizzy's just they're sharp at the moment, and I think they'll knock them off. So
All right. Well,
yeah,
I'm with Tully.
Going?
I'm going for the mighty Hawks to beat Port Adelaide, and I'm going for Greater Western Sydney to beat Brisbane, and then the game after that will be the Hawks versus Geelong. I think it'd be Greater Western Sydney versus Geelong, and the Hawks versus the Sydney Swans. So that'll be a very interesting week. The week after, if those sides get up.
Interesting. Well, so what do you reckon, Geelong or Greater Western? It's an interesting one. So they had a good game last week.
I think it's going to be a Geelong-Sydney grand final myself, Tully. Who do you think is going to be in the grand final?
Is that right?
Mark, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it'll be a Geelong-Sydney grand final. And in that case, I'll be going hard for Geelong.
Yeah, I'll be going for Geelong too. What about you, Paul?
Of course. Oh, yeah, Geelong's all the way, man. Geelong's all the way. Yeah. 100%.
Now, just while we're talking the footy, just before we get off the footy, what about the Bombers in 25? I'm not that confident. What about you, Tully? Do you think we're going to get up next year in 25?
Look, Mark, I've got to be honest and say I've been saying it for 20 odd years now. It's a little bit tiresome.
Like us all.
I think that we mentioned at the start of the show, maybe in jest about the Essendon board, but we're going to have some change there. Sheeds is going off. There's some changes at the club. I think clearly there's some cultural problems at the Essendon Football Club. You simply just can't go this long with the significant issues the club's been having, and end up the same place every year, either just in the top 8, then go out first round, or just not make it. It's been too long. So, and I know that's an operational, challenge, but I think we've got to stop. You can't just keep blaming the playing side. There's clearly some issues with the club. Club needs change. It needs a cultural shift, and let's hope we get it.
Okay. What about Scott? What about the coach? He's got one more year. What do you think? Is Chris Scott hanging around for a bit longer, or?
Look, I'm indifferent on that. I'm not opposed to us going out for a bit of a search and seeing who's out there. But look, I don't think that the issues of the club are Chris Scott, to be honest.
It's a mix. It's all
well, Paul, I think Tully's going to have a very busy year, being that new councillor, being on the board of the Essendon Football Club, and being an ambassador for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Is going to be a huge 2025 for Tully Smith. But get behind his campaign to get elected in the Point Cook area. It's going to be a great thing for the Point Cook residents. And then, look, after that, mate, he'll take on Victoria, then take on Australia. So it's going to be fantastic, Paul. Don't you reckon?
Oh, I think it's going to be great, mate. Yeah, absolutely. I know. I support that, mate. All the best. Certainly, you'll do really well. Absolutely well, mate. You can feel it. You can actually feel it, which is really exciting. So I just want to.
I appreciate your confidence and support.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just look at that wall. Your pictures are going to be up there very shortly, and Mark's.
Hey, all right, mate. We're going to head on to the 7 in 7.
Yeah, we're going to do 7 in 7, but just want to encourage our viewers, our listeners on 98.9 and the stream to get behind us. Support us at Facebook there at Paul, Mark and the Tech Guy. There's lots of stuff happening here. We're a local community radio, so you come and support us, get involved, and get interact with us on our shows, right, Marcus? I mean, you like a little bit of interaction. Sure. I can't always be showing the donut picture or like your food. This is what you love, mate. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more people that love that sort of stuff out there. But anyways, get behind us at here at 98.9 at Paul Mark and the Tech Guy. Coming up 7 at 7, and here it is. So I've got to love that's the top 7 at 7, thanks to our good mate Julio, who is not with us this evening. So Tully, I put these sort of points together. It's the top 7 tips and tricks to save money amid a cost of living crisis. So number 1, any one of our viewers or listeners or watching, you can certainly jump on and make a comment. Know your expenses So this is number one. Know your expenses. Understand how much you spend. So necessity or necessary or unnecessary spending. What do you think?
I couldn't agree with you more. And I know a number of the major banks recently have made some significant updates to their apps on their digital devices to help us sort of track our spending a little bit more. But there's also a number of third-party applications that you connect. I know we do that here in our house. It's pretty remarkable when you look back through your spending, and you go, gee, we spent that much on fuel, and we spent that much on groceries, and we spent that much on takeouts and Uber Eats, and public transport in and out of the city, and all those kind of things. So I think once you see it, you know it, you can look at it, you can then sort of make some decisions around it.
So, Matt, what would you slash out of have a look at your spending today? What would you slash? So cost of living challenge.
Yeah.
What would you take off?
A couple of things that shocked us was the cost of coffee. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but my fiance is also a professional. We both work in offices in the city. When we were looking at it, we were probably spending, $30 a day combined on just coffees from, the coffee window of the local cafe, things like that. I love local business. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting don't go down to your local cafe and buy a coffee, but that adds up. When it's sort of the two of you and you're $30 a day each, times that by 5 and then times that by 4, and you've got your monthly coffee bill. We're pretty fortunate. We got us a gift for our engagement, a pretty big coffee machine. Rather than jump in the car or pick one up at the station, I can make one at home. Save myself $5 or $6. So sometimes it's the little things. I know when we looked at our budget, we honestly thought it could be things like a holiday here or something like that. Honestly, they weren't the costs that were adding up. It's the little things.
What about you, Paul? What would you cut out of your budget, mate? Apart from the burgers and the takeaways, what would you cut out?
I mean, look, I run a social enterprise. So I'd love coffee drinkers first thing in the morning. So maybe we can encourage you to buy one of the, sort of those mugs, and we'll give you a discount. So you keep coming back to save a little bit of money there. What would I cut out? I'd have to cut this out here, Mark. Let me just show you this one. I have to cut this sort of stuff out. You know what I mean?
That's good, mate.
You know what I mean? So what about you, Marcus? I mean, you're asking all the questions here, mate, but you sort of keep them very quiet. I'm worried about you.
Well, so I think I just got to watch the food. I mean, I've got to reduce food for a range of reasons. One of them's budget, but the other one obviously is weight. So I think just cutting down on my food costs might be a win-win for me.
Could be a win-win. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Well, number 2, conduct a financial audit, which we talked about. Review your finances and identify areas to cut costs. So, what would you slash? Is there? So you mentioned, Tully, there's an app, or there's a couple of apps other than the banks. Could you give us one of those apps that someone might find it very useful to jump on and do their own sort of like house audit? Yes,
as I said, a lot of the major banks, their native apps really do a great job.
Yep.
So you can. I sort of hate giving advice around financials in case it doesn't work for certain people. And obviously, the cybersecurity risks are real, and connecting things to your bank account and all those kinds of things come with issues. So I'd say do your own research. But we use the native app. That comes with our bank, and what it enables you to do is just track those things, naturally, but it also enables you to export the data. So you're not plugging in an app to your live bank account, so you're not having that cybersecurity risk. So you're downloading all that data, and then you can upload it into something else, which can sort of chunk it up a little bit. But as I said, when you go through, because we all go through life weekly, and we're all really busy, and you stop at the supermarket, on the way home. I know I do, and I ring the missus, need me to pick some things up or something like that, and then and then you sort of get to the end of the week and you go, geez, we'll probably been to the supermarket twice, maybe 3 times between us, and you go, geez, do we actually need all this? And look how much money we spent when it's all chucked up. So I completely agree. But I would just say do what works for you. But even sometimes just exporting that data and putting it into Microsoft Excel and doing your own kind of search can really be advantageous.
You'll be surprised. I saw something on YouTube last night where they advertised, it was YouTube themselves, advertised this app, pay $16.99 or whatever, remove all the other apps, and this app will cover all of the, all the apps that you're removing, but you'll save money. So that was very clever advertising. It's probably something that Mark would do. But I thought that was interesting because, we need to understand what we're spending, and then we need to sort of, make some changes there. All right, that's good.
That was a really interesting one that we did in our house. So once we went with the native bank app and it told us how much we're spending on subscriptions, we were genuinely shocked. And we realised things like, when, and Agnes and I have been together for years now, but when we first met, for example, we both had a Netflix account and we didn't realise that we're both still paying for it, even though that when you're together, you've got your own. So actually, knowing your data, knowing what you're spending, and then just looking and going, all of these, especially some of the streaming apps, you can turn them on and off. There's no joining fee. So, going, well, what are we watching this week or this month? Can we turn the Stan and the Disney off, and because we're on Netflix this month? I mean, it's $10 and it's $12 and it's $15, but combined, it all really adds up.
Yeah,
it's good point, mate.
That's very good, very good. So number 3, so the top 7 tips and tricks to save money amid a cost of living crisis. Reduce grocery bills, be mindful of grocery expenses, shop around for a better price. So do you think that's right, Tully? We can go.
Are you talking about maybe going to Aldi? Is Aldi the way to go, or Coles, or Woolworths? Probably Aldi's a bit cheaper. Where do you go, Tully?
Well, I'd say, it's a bit of a misconception out there that it's more expensive to go to your local butcher or your local greengrocer. I completely disagree. So what we started doing is buying all our meat from our local butcher. We buy all our fresh fruit and veg from the local greengrocer. Actually go to some of those local businesses. You'll get a better deal. And also supporting a great local business, and you're getting fresher, better produce, I believe. So setting budgets really helps. I think that, the cost of the individual items is a huge issue, but when you actually look and you set yourself a budget, and again, I will say, and Paul, why I loved how you started off, it's about knowing what you spend. You can't set a budget without knowing what you spend. So I completely agree. I think that's what most people miss. So know exactly what you're spending, but then set a budget and say, no, this is what we're doing. And then track that budget throughout the month. And again, there's a whole lot of apps you can get, a whole lot of online tools, or you can do it in Microsoft Excel. I mean, there's a whole lot of ways you can do it in pen and paper. There's a whole lot of ways you can do it, and then track that spending. So when you're going grocery shopping, no matter where you're going, well, I'm spending $50, so I'm spending $100, or now I know the average grocery shop's a lot more than $100 nowadays, and it is, prices have gone up.
Correct. Yeah,
exactly. By setting a budget, but I will just say that there's a bit of a misconception out there around, fresh food, fresh meat. That is still, I believe, one of the cheapest ways to feed your family. By buying fresh, healthy produce from the supermarket or the local greengrocer, which is where we go. But trying to stay away from some of that prepackaged stuff and from the the microwave meals, things like that. It does cost more over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuff. No, that's awesome. So number 4, rethink household bills, cheaper utilities. It's a no-brainer. There's a lot of noise out there, media around utility costs. So shopping around, getting the best deal.
It's frustrating though, Paul. I agree with you completely. But my God, they don't make it easy, do they? I always get frustrated when I ring my electricity company every quarter or every half year and say, look, I need to cancel my account. They say, why is that? And I say, well, I've rang a few other people, even if I haven't. And they get a cheaper deal. Oh, we can lower your prices, Mr. Smith. Don't leave us. Why aren't I on the best deal already? But absolutely, by just sometimes ringing up your own provider and threatening to go and saying I want a better deal, it can be.
It's a bit like interest rates.
They're a real win for you.
They always put you on the highest. You ring them up and say, I'm going to go to a different bank or a different provider. They seem to always be able to reduce your interest rate.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible. It works for some and it doesn't work for some. So let me tell you. Okay, number 5, increase income. Explore ways to earn more money. So that's interesting. So I've got a good job, work for Social Engine, for the great man there. So should I go out and get another job, Mark? I mean, help me out. Maybe I'll get Mark to answer this one. I need to earn some more money, Mark.
A side hustle, like
side hustle,
maybe that's I don't know, Tully, if you've got a few side hustles, but it is trying to think about how you actually do it. And I know with us, we've got our main game, which is maybe doing a canteen, and then we've got a side hustle, which is catering. So, if that goes really well, then we can, like a guy like Paul, we can give him a little bit more of a pay rise once catering goes up. I don't know. Sometimes you got to do multiple things, don't you?
Look, Mark, I agree with you, but I will say that quality of life is also really important. Now, you've got me on the show tonight because I'm running for local government. I'm in business. I'm certainly not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or anything like that. So I don't want to be giving out health advice. But I really do think, and one thing that I've certainly seen through the cost of living crisis is the stresses that it's putting onto families. In particular, and we're three blokes having a yak tonight, but we know there's some pretty scary statistics around, especially suicide, but also depression and anxiety in men. I'm not saying not distracted away from women in that, but 6 out of 7 suicides around the world are men, and a significant number of them are around monetary issues. So. What I will say is that while a side hustle is great, Mark, you know me, I have a couple. Roll my sleeves up and I love it. But you've got to watch out for your own mental health. I think you've got to put that first and foremost. And that having a full-time job and then loading yourself up with a couple of those side hustles, and sometimes they don't work, and you've got to watch out for the scams. I mean, all those kind of things. More trouble. So I just sort of like to say, really, you've got to look out for yourself and your family in this. I'd encourage anyone to have a crack at a side hustle and get going. But, don't believe the spin and the hype you see on YouTube and Instagram and, for an hour a week, I make all this. I mean, like that just isn't.
Yeah. I think maybe you're right. What you're saying is maybe you've got to cut your cloth and you earn X dollars, spend X dollars minus $1 or something, you know what I mean? And live within your means and have a better quality of life, go to the movies, go for dinner, have a bit of time off. But is that what you're sort of saying, Tully?
I'll say two things on that. I'll say, the first thing, if you're in a bit of spot of bother, the first thing you do, ring your bank, ring your providers. If you're struggling to pay utility bills, ring your utility provider. There is so much assistance available for people, especially at the moment, whether it's the organisation itself or government-supported assistance. So the very first thing you should do is ring up your provider. If you're struggling to pay that mortgage, ring your bank. Make them your first call. Don't struggle through it. Ring up, reach out. They've all got support programs and things in place to help you. So one, do that. The second thing is, and I know this is easy to say, but do you need a new car next year? Do you need that new TV? I mean, there's certain things in our lives that perhaps we can we can sort of cut back on without having to cut back our quality of life. And I'd suggest that potentially having a look at some of those things. But again, I mean, school fees are another one. A lot of the people I'm speaking to at the moment running for council, school fees are a real struggle. But for people out there, I know, the school I went to, we give a little bit of money every year to a fund that, that helps, parents of students that potentially can't afford the fees that year. I mean, all these schools have support programs, assistance. Just don't struggle alone. Reach out, or worst case, ring a mate, have a yak. Everyone's going through this at the moment. There's so much support out there. But you'll be amazed what happens if you just ring your bank and say, hey, I'm struggling to make the mortgage this month, or ring up your electricity company. Look, guys, I need some help with the bill. There's weekly payments, monthly, and all these things out there. So
there's lots of avenues. 100%. Yeah, that's good, mate. That's really good. Number 5, we'll go on. Number 6, sorry, use cash to avoid card surcharges. Would you agree with that? Using cash, even though we don't want to go cashless?
Well, this is interesting. I'm not a financial advisor, but what I can tell you is, sometimes the cost to go get cash from the ATM can be just as much as using your card. So, there's fees on every ATM transaction now. I mean, all those things. Look, I'm a pretty digital currency guy. I sort of, use the tap and pay, but I'd certainly, absolutely, if you talk to your bank, again, it's what we were saying before. It's amazing, when you say, well, look, Mr. Smith, you've got this platinum credit card that we gave you because of this home loan or something like that. However, you realise if you don't want, you don't need all these bells, we can give you a free one, and it doesn't cost you anything. And it's like, well, yeah, but, what am I really doing with all these points and all these things? Do I actually use them for anything? So sometimes going that no features, no frills, and it's free. So you can often actually talk to the bank and get this stuff done.
Yeah, that's awesome. So number 7 tip and trick to save money amid a cost of living crisis is shop smart, buy items on sale or during sale campaigns. So rather just go out and think, oh yeah, I'll just go and buy that. hunt.
Yeah, I do that at the supermarket, Tully. If anything's on special, I like buying things on special, especially if they're half price, like your dishwashing stuff for your clothes, washing clothes.
That sort of stuff, Mark, you mean?
No, that's normally not on sale. Or those chocolates, sometimes the chocolates can be half price, Tully.
Oh, they're about $1.20 at the moment, I think, some of the big stuff.
Look, I don't disagree. For me, it's peanut butter. Peanut butter's my,
I love it.
We go through tubs of it here. So, so when it's on sale, absolutely. One of the other things we've done, though, is we've gone to online shopping for our groceries. And what it avoids doing is the impulse purchases. So, supermarkets, make huge money on those end of aisle shelves, things like that, product placement. So, putting things that you desire at eye level rather than things you need, which are down the bottom or up the top because you buy here. Buying things online and then tracking that weekly or fortnightly or monthly, however often you want your groceries delivered. It's a really great way to do it because you're not going to go, look, I'll buy that packet of Tim Tams or I'll buy. So sometimes the sale items can be a bit of in my opinion, misguidance. Like, because you walk home and you go, geez, I bought 4 packets of Tim Tams because they're on the sale. It's like, well, I don't normally ever buy Tim Tams. So, I've actually spent more than I thought because it's a product I don't need. So buying online can really help you control that impulse spending. And I will take this as a personal thing, but I tell you what, don't go to the supermarket when you're hungry. Have a big meal, then go do your shopping. You go there when you're hungry, I always spend more. So, but the online ordering has really, really helped us. And if you can do it, and another thing, delivery costs, right? So if you say you want it delivered at 10 o'clock tomorrow, it's all dynamic pricing. But if you say you want it delivered at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, they might charge you $20. But if you're happy to have it at 8 p.m. that night, it might be free. You can.
Correct. Yep.
So we always pick the free time. One of us might be around. If not, we're not far away. I've never had any of those porch pirates, touch wood, steal anything. But, so we sort of look at that. But we get it delivered. And it just, because we do as you said at the outset, Paul, we track our money. And I can tell you, it's saving us a fortune by just not being in the supermarket physically, by getting it delivered to our house.
That's awesome, mate. That's absolutely awesome. What some really good feedback on that one there, Tully. And I'm sure, Mark, you've got a few pointers to take away from.
Yeah, I've learned a lot of Tully Smith tonight. I didn't realise Tully was so really good at the budgeting and keeping things so tight.
He's doing really well.
I wonder if it's him or his fiancée, Agnes. I think maybe it could be more Agnes than Tully, but I'm not sure. We'll have to work that out.
Mark, I learned everything I just told you from Agnes, my fiancée. Don't you worry.
I was thinking that. Yeah, I was thinking that. All right, mate. That's good. Anyway, we've all learned something, Paul.
We have indeed, and stay tuned because it's now time. Thanks for that, Tully. We really appreciate that. The feedback. Now it's time. It's time for Mark's rant. Hold on to your seats and watch out.
Well, I tell you what, I'm sick to death of it. I've had enough. I want to go back to the 60s. I want to smoke my peace pipe. I'm going to go peace, peace, peace. That's all I'm about. I'm sick of the Ukraine war. I'm sick of Gaza. Now I'm seeing on the TV people are wanting to, fight for peace, but they're using violence. So I reckon we've just got to go on a peace rally. We've just got to start smoking dope and saying, hey, we want to have peace. Peace, 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 Paul. That's what we're about tonight. Let's stop the war. Let's stop being aggressive to each other. Let's stop throwing things at policemen. Why all this aggression? Let's just try and give peace a go. There was a great song in the 60s about peace. Why don't we go back there and peace, 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 mate?
Love the concept. What do you think, Tully? I think a peace march. Yeah?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's true, though. Why? We don't need to go to that level of violence. I mean, what for? It's not doing anything. It's not making changes. It's not, it's just creating more concern.
I was like, boys, I was in the city today, and I think that again, this is just my own what I witnessed from being there, but I reckon there was probably 5 to 10 odd thousand protesters, and I reckon 9,500 were pretty peaceful people. I certainly support people's right to protest. It's a fundamental part of democracy. But it's just a shame that we've got these fringe groups that on either side, on the left and the right, but these extremists, Nazis turning up to women's rallies, and these far extreme people rocking up to an anti-military rally today, and I mean these kind of things. And so Mark, I'm with you, but I do fundamentally believe that the lion's share of people, and I know we're talking about today's protest, but generally speaking, are peaceful, loving people. I just don't know what we do about the extremes in society at the moment. It's a bit scary.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping and praying that the Ukraine war, the stuff in Gaza, and no thing in Taiwan, that we just have sort of a period of peace, settlement, and just try and get that going. The American elections coming up soon. Let's just hope that 2025 is the year of peace.
Yeah, correct. That's awesome. All right.
Well, if someone's prevailed in the US, we might just get there, but who knows?
Who knows? Well, we saw did we get any outcome from the presidential debate this evening, or earlier on today? I think it was this evening, wasn't it? With Kamala Harris and Trump. Any sort of feedback on that, Tully? You got any feedback?
Yeah, look, Paul, I won't, overly
won't get into it.
Go news politics. But what I'd encourage everyone to do is just you don't have to watch the whole thing. Go and watch the highlights on YouTube, and you'll see that one of those candidates just looked down the barrel of that camera and told outrageous lies and stories and mistruths and falsehoods, and just egregious. And the other was pretty sound and stable and put a case for why she should be president of the United States. And I think that I don't really need to say anything. Go watch the clips. Honestly, I can't say any more than that. It was something else.
Good on you, Tully. Good on you, mate.
Well done, Tully. That's awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much, Marcus. I think we're done for this week. How great is it having Tully Smith? Good luck with your campaign, mate.
We move to a draw. I hope you boys have me back.
Yeah, no. All the best for that Point Cook, mate. You're going to get in by a landslide. Everyone's going to get behind Tully Smith for Point Cook.
Tully Smith for Point Cook. Vote 1. Is it your number 1? Vote 1. All right, mate. Well, all the best. Take care, Marcus. Great to see you again, and co-host doing a wonderful job.
Peace, boys.
Peace, huh? Big hi to our mate, the tech man, and we'll look forward to seeing him next week. But take care, guys, and thank you again. Thank to our viewers as well on the stream, and thank you for supporting us. Get behind us at the Facebook page, Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy. Follow us because we want to do the live stream via our Facebook page. See you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Week, and stick around because there's lots more here on 98.9 Northwest FM. Paul Mark and the Tech Guy sees you next Wednesday. Stay tuned for music on the hour.
And we just got to turn it off tonight. Thanks for watching us, guys, and we'll see you later. Hey?
This is your local station, 98.9 Northwest FM.
I'll give you a call. Well done. I'll give you a call when I get.
We're still live.
This is your local station.